From Music City, USA, it's David Hooper and Music Business Radio.
From the TuneIn Broadcasting Studios in Nashville, Tennessee, it's Music Business Radio. I'm your host, David Hooper. And with me today, Bloodshot artist Justin Townes Earle. It's got a brand new record. It's called Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. We're going to be digging in to how he recorded it. Well, actually, Justin, we're going to have you play some music off of it, too.
Yeah.
And we're going to listen to it. So, Justin, welcome to Music Business Radio.
Glad to be here.
So, last name Earle.
Yeah.
I want to go back and I want to talk about growing up. Your father, pretty well-known guy, Steve
Yeah.
Earle. What was growing up as Steve Earle's son like?
Well, I mean, I didn't see a whole lot of him growing up, so I didn't really start seeing him until I was a teenager, my early teens, and I started working for him very shortly after that. I started going out on the road. Unfortunately, none of his kids know what it's like to grow up as Steve Earle's kids.
but was it one of those things like, hey, Dad's a musician, and therefore I'm going to start playing guitar? Is that how you got involved?
I think that early on it was, Dad's a musician, so I'm not going to pick up a guitar. That was the idea. I think I ran from it.
That was rebellion.
Yeah, I ran from it for as long as I could. But by the time I was 12, I was playing in some real gritty punk rock bands and stuff like that. And I discovered Woody Guthrie and Leadbelly and things like that around the time I was 13, and that just kind of changed my whole course right there.
And you actually spent some time playing with your father and his backing band.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was very interesting. I mean, it was obviously a learning experience in the fact that it's like I learned a lot about how the road works, how everything from the stage to the money to all that works, and so I got to see that, and so I learned a lot. But at the same time, too, I was at that point in my life, I was on a pretty self-destructive course, and so it was, luckily when I came out of the haze, I still retained the information.
Do you mind if we dig into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you described it as self-destructive course. What do you mean by that?
Well, I discovered heroin when I was 12 years old. I was a very confused and angry, and I spent a lot of time running the streets and didn't have a lot of supervision. But then I was introduced to this thing that hit me like a warm blanket, and took all my fear away and all that stuff, and it really sent my life on kind of a constant downward trajectory. It's like I'd go up a little bit, but then I'd just come right back down, and it took me till I was 22, and I got off of it, and then 6 years later I had another little run in with it, but it was very short lived. So it's one of those things that I have to keep a constant check on, or it gets out of control for me really fast.
How do you think that that's affected your art? Like songwriting when you're on it, as opposed to songwriting when you're off of it, performing?
When I'm on it, I mean, I really I can't say that I can really tell that big of a difference between my writing high and my writing sober. There's really not that big enough difference. I for example, I made The Good Life and Midnight at the Movies completely sober. By the time I made Harlem River Blues, I was back out there and running again, when we were in the studio making that record. And also it was while we were touring for Midnight at the Movies is when it happened. And then I started, but then it led into the making of the record. So I made Harlem River Blues, and a couple of the, days of recording, I don't even remember them, It's like, I seem to be able to work. It's the problem is it just doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect the work. So it took a long time to convince me that it was a problem.
Yeah, I can imagine, because if you're functioning and everybody's telling you how great you are,
yeah,
you're just going to keep on that trajectory, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what was it that made you just want to get off?
When I was clean for a while, I got clean when I was 22 through about 26, and I think I'd just gotten to the point where I was just tired of not feeling anything. There was a period between 18 and 22, well, actually really 20 and 22, where I didn't write a lot, and it was because of the drugs, and I think that eventually, it will take my will to do all this away from me. I won't want to do anything. So it can mess up everything from the creative to the business part really fast.
You're listening to Music Business Radio. I'm your host, David Hooper, and with me today, Bloodshot artist, recording artist Justin Townes Earle. He's just completed a new album. It's Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. I had Sean Mullins in here, and he had also dealt with some substance abuse and was talking about, you mentioned having to feel, and he talked about having to go out on stage sober. It's a completely different thing. He'd been in the business for years, but it was like starting a brand new business. Did you kind of have that same experience?
Yeah, it definitely was I was a little shaky starting off. I mean, I remember when I got clean, for the first year, I didn't play anywhere that served alcohol. So it just kind of, and then when I got more comfortable, I started getting out there. No, it's not something that really bothers me. I mean, I'm definitely in more of a position to control my environment on the road these days. You know, now that I'm playing decent sized halls, we always have dressing rooms, and they're completely alcohol free and all that.
Do you have any advice for maybe somebody who's struggling with alcohol or any other kind of substance? Just from a guy who's been there, do you have advice for them?
You know, I think that my advice would be just to ask yourself every day if you're sick of it and ready, and eventually you're going to say yes.
Good advice. So you didn't always know you were going to be a musician. It just kind of happened that way.
Yeah. I mean, my plan when I was a kid was to be a professional soccer player.
It's like Pele.
Yeah. It was something like that, you know.
Was there some pressure on you, though, with your father being such a well-known musician? Like, you know, come on, Justin, let's give this thing a shot.
If I would have gotten a record deal in Nashville and a manager in Nashville, and there probably would have been some pressure on me. That's why I kind of went to Bloodshot, because, you know, I hate to say it, you know, and sorry, Dad, but, you know, most of Bloodshot's fans are like, who the hell is Steve Earle? You know, there's a lot of them that are like that, you know, because they're into and that was the thing, is I needed a place where people said, who the hell is Steve Earle?
Right.
To get
Absolutely.
started, you know, and my business is all based out of New York now, because I wanted a different point of view than what came from, you know, here. I'd been in the business in Nashville long enough to know that it was not looking in the direction that I was heading in.
So what is the difference between the business in Nashville, you grew up in Nashville, and the business in New York? What have you found the major differences to be?
The major differences is like here, there's a lot of record labels have these baby bands that they get, and they bring them into the studio, and they keep them there for like 2 years, and they, you know, change their clothes and their, you know, the way they wear their hair, and they do all that stuff. In New York, if you don't got it going, then you're not getting anything. You know, it's like you got to already have it, or New York's not. You got to either be really tough or, you know, or already have a good grip on who you are and what you are in your career.
Well, it kind of sounds to me like the culture in general in New York. I know every time I'm in Manhattan, it's like Manhattan respects nobody. Those guys are working hard, and sometimes it's just hard to survive up there.
Well, I think that's the one of the things that I found that I loved about New York is the fact that everybody, it's so hard to live there. It's so expensive, and there's nobody there that's a thing that I found a rash of in Nashville. There's a lot of people sitting at the bar talking about this project that they're working on, you know, and how the last project got screwed over by the record label, but this one's going to be the one. People just don't talk like that in New York. I mean, they don't. It's like everybody's working too hard. They don't have time to mess around and have pipe dreams.
I mean, absolutely. And I think also on the street in New York, if you go there, you see all different cultures, you hear all different languages. And, you know, these people, a lot of them come over there with nothing, and they build it, and you see that every day.
Yeah.
That's not as obvious here in Nashville.
Yeah, it's not as obvious, even though it is here. I mean, I am, you know, fairly convinced that, you know, all people in general are the same, you know, but there's definitely you need to be current to make a difference in New York, you know.
So you went up to New York. Did you have any specific goals in mind, like, hey, I want to be on the cover of Rolling Stone or sell 1 million records, or maybe artistic goals when you decided you were going to do this music thing?
It was purely an artistic move. Because it was. I found myself kind of feeling a little bit stagnated. Living in Nashville, it can be tough for a native, especially because it's really hard to, like, you know, always go out and have some, you know, kid from Ohio try to convince me why East Nashville's so cool, you know, and it's like, you know, and that gets.
Well, you've seen a lot of change in Nashville.
Oh, a ton.
So talk a bit about that.
Well, I mean, I was saying earlier that I think that, you know, it's like I remember West End Avenue lined with mansions, like the old mansions that lined West End Avenue. You know, I remember Hillsborough Village with Village Imports, Johnny's old store, Village Imports.
Yeah, kind of like a head shop, clothing kind of shop.
Yeah, and Jones's Pet Shop was in there, and
now a very hip coffee shop.
Yeah, and Pancake Pantry was there, but it was in a smaller building that sat in that parking lot, not in that strip mall. everywhere I look, there's things that have just changed. That I mean, like, don't even get me started on the convention center, because that thing is just ugh.
Well, it used to be. I would always explain people when they're asking me to describe Nashville. It's like, New York has Broadway and it's got TV and it's got the Yankees and it has everything, and L.A. has actors and whatever they do out in Los Angeles, Botox and things. But Nashville, we have music.
Yeah.
And that's all we do, and that's kind of changing now.
It is. There's more outlets. There's more TV taking place here. There's more of everything, modeling and things. And I think that unfortunately, it's just giving another platform of, Nashville has always been at the forefront of pop music. When Hank Williams put out his first record, he was the biggest pop star in the world, and so all Nashville's done is just follow the course of pop music. Unfortunately, pop music is crap, and so everything that's being popped off in the row is turning to crap right behind it. But underneath all that stuff, what's happening in Nashville with people like Tristan and Caitlin Rose and people like that, it's definitely changing. I mean, bands, it's starting to become a destination for younger bands. Deer Ticks moved here. Black Keys moved here. It is becoming a place where it's getting a lot more exciting again, I think, musically.
It is very exciting. And speaking of, we're very excited about your new record. Nothing's going to change the way you feel about me now. It's available, wherever records are sold these days, right?
Yeah.
You got vinyl, CDs, downloads, whatever you want, you've got it.
Yeah.
And we're going to check it out. A little later in the show, we're going to have you pick up your guitar, play live. Justin Townes Earle on Music Business Radio.
Hi, I'm Jeff Cook. I'm a musician, singer, songwriter, and I've done record promotion for radio for 30 years, and I thought I knew it all until I listened to Music Business Radio.
On the web at musicbusinessradio.com.
Live on the Green, Nashville's 6-week free concert series held at Public Square Park in front of the Metro Courthouse will return this fall, featuring shows each Thursday between September 6th and October 11th. Live on the Green will once again feature live music by local and national acts, as well as a variety of special activities for attendees of all ages. Our first confirmed act for the 2012 season is Music City Mayhem champion Roots of a Rebellion.
This urge is not getting to me. No more stress, yes I confess, this Mr. made a miracle.
Live on the Green is once again proudly presented by Lightning 100 with support from Coca-Cola, the Doubletree by Hilton, downtown Nashville, Team Green Adventures, Friendly Arctic and Print Design, Site Mason Incorporated, and Village Real Estate. Stay tuned to Lightning 100 for Live on the Green updates and lineup announcements, and make plans now to join us this fall live on the Green.
'Cause I know that I'm not the big friends of boys with girlfriends. Oh, I know better than that. I know better.
Hi, my name is Miko, an artist on MySpace Records/DGC. You can visit me at mikomusic.com, and you're listening to Music Business Radio.
From Nashville, Tennessee, it's Music Business Radio. I'm your host, David Hooper, and with me today, Bloodshot recording artist Justin Townes Earle. The album, Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. Justin, you've got a song on here, and we got to play this because I want to hear the story behind it. It's called Baby's Got a Bad Idea. That sounds like there's a story.
I like to write from the Woody Guthrie kind of write for every man, and it's definitely like it's that thing where, like, your girl just comes up with this really terrible idea, but you have to kind of go through with it because otherwise you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, she's not going to listen to you.
Yeah,
so let her find it out on her own.
Like, go ahead. You'll figure that out.
Well, let's check it out right now. This is off the album Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. Justin Townes Earle on Music Business Radio. The song Baby's Got a Bad Idea.
Baby's got a bad idea, I can see it in her eyes. She wanna hide it, but she can't, no matter how hard she tries. Baby's acting like a kid, Lord, she's playing games with me. Oh, but I'm much too old a man these days to play a hide and seek. Maybe if I were a better man, she wouldn't walk away from me. Yeah, I could keep her close to me. Yeah, baby's got a hold on me. Yeah, she's tearing me in two. I know there's nothing that I can do. Sometimes when she sleeps, I like to listen to her breathe. I wish that I could know what she's dreaming, but I don't know. This baby's got a cold embrace, and she just don't feel the same. Yeah, she did when she used to call me by my name. Yeah. Yes, she did when she used to call me by my name. Oh, man.
Justin Townes Earle on Music Business Radio. The song Baby's Got a Bad Idea from the album Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. Available now. Vinyl, CD, downloads, whatever people want, you got it for them.
That's right.
Baby's Got a Bad Idea. You talked about Woody Guthrie and discovering him when you were like 12, 14 years old. Yeah. How did that happen? Because that seems, 12-year-olds are listening to Disney bands or something.
Yeah, it was actually, I was a big Nirvana fan. My dad was in the late 80s, was with his then wife, was a A&R person for, I think she was with MCA and worked for Geffen for a while. And so in 1989, I remember for my birthday, I received this, thing of CDs from my dad from LA, and one of the records, and it was Bleach by Nirvana. And I'd bet I was the first kid in Nashville, Tennessee to own a Nirvana record. I got that and I became a fan, and I had all, but when they did the Unplugged record, Kurt did Where Did You Sleep Last Night? And that was my favorite song off that record, and then I, just did the research in it, and there was Leadbelly, I figured out that Leadbelly actually wrote it, and then discovered Woody Guthrie. I'd heard my dad talk about Woody Guthrie plenty, so it took me a little while to find the link between Woody and Leadbelly, but it was there.
How do you find your voice as an artist? You mentioned playing in several bands. Certainly your father is a successful musician. How have you found your own voice as an artist?
I think it's just trial and error, and always just being willing to learn. And I think that that's the thing that the artist has to do, is has to be willing to keep being a student. That really helps in a lot of ways. I think that you'll find something eventually if you just follow that, because it's a very honest route.
You're listening to Music Business Radio. I'm your host, David Hooper. With me today, Justin Townes Earle has got a record out. Nothing's going to change the way you feel about me now. Been talking to Justin about that. I want you to go into solo versus band a little bit more. I heard a quote from you, and I thought this was great. You said you run your tour like a stone-cold dictatorship. Yeah. So sometimes you can't do that when you're in a band. Can you talk about just kind of the pros and cons of band versus solo?
The cons to being solo is when the van breaks down, I pay for it. When the van breaks down on a band, everybody's got to pay for it. That's one of the biggest drawbacks to being solo, is you're responsible for everything. But then again, if it starts to pay off, then it's definitely much better for you. But it's I don't have to ask anybody any questions when I write a song. I don't have to ask anybody's opinion if I don't want to. I do listen to my players. If they have a good idea, it's a good idea. But just because they think it's a good idea doesn't mean I'm going to think it is.
But I would imagine sometimes that could be really, really scary, though, because it's like you said, it's the good or the bad. You're responsible for it.
Yeah, well, I think that's the deal, is I would rather just I'm more comfortable being responsible for it than I am having to trust other people's instincts. I don't co-write, which is one of the big Nashville things to do, always has been. Everybody co-writes. I hate it. I really do. I think a song just cannot be personal. It can't be that personal. Maybe if you wrote with your twin brother or something like that might work.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Nashville, though, because I think sometimes these Nashville writers are trying to get cuts, or they're trying to get hits. And your writing process, I would imagine, is very, very different.
It's very different. I mean, I also have a thing. I mean, I write purely for art. There are people here in this town that write purely for money. But I used to think that it was, there was nothing good about what went on Music Row. But, one thing that I failed to think about when I was younger and more hot-headed was the fact that people got to eat and people got to clothe kids. A lot of these musicians, got here. They had something with a record label that fell through. They were playing, 3 nights a week at Tootsie's, and then all of a sudden their girlfriend turns up pregnant. They got to do something fast, and that's the quickest and easiest. I mean, it's the thing that they can do. It's the thing they've done. So my dad got his foot put in his mouth for saying something about that years ago to another writer who I also still know, and he explained it like that. Said, man, I got 5 kids. It's that's all you got to say.
Yeah. And I mean, and what's selling out more? Is it, giving up on music and going to work at Starbucks or whatever? I mean, at least you're staying in music, right?
Yeah, you're staying in it. I mean, me personally, I could not go to that, but I can see why people do. I can see why people do it. I'm definitely one of those people that I've made a career of doing things my way, and if I just can't do them my way, and I don't want to do it.
Well, if you couldn't do music, what do you think you would be doing, if anything?
I'd probably be, painting houses, and the jobs I did the most is I painted houses, and I used to do weird stuff. I worked for a guy for a long time repairing antique rugs and things like that, and I'd be doing a perfectly good, honorable job, I think. But I think about that sometimes, what would I be doing if I wasn't doing this? But I think there would be some other darker side to it if I wasn't doing this. Yeah.
You're listening to Music Business Radio. I'm your host, David Hooper. With me today, Justin Townes Earle. The record, Nothing's Going to Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. When we come back, we're going to talk about the album, how it was recorded, the songwriting process. Maybe you can listen to it. Justin Townes Earle on Music Business Radio. More from him when we come back.
Hi, my name is Doyle Davis, and I'm co-owner of Grimey's new and pre-loved music. Also, just started a record label called Out of Sight Records. And you're listening to Music Business Radio.
You're listening to Music Business Radio on the web at musicbusinessradio.com.
Oh, baby, right down the line.
Lightning 100 presents Bonnie Raitt for a return engagement at Ryman Auditorium, Sunday, October 28th. Tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. Stay tuned to Lightning 100 as we'll be counting you down to the front row with the grand prize this Facebook Friday featuring front row tickets to the October 28th show and a pair of tickets to the sold-out May 12th show. Stay tuned for more, only from Nashville's independent radio, Lightning 100.
Welcome to a special edition of Music Business Radio with Justin Townes Earle. Here's Memphis in the Rain on Music Business Radio.
Staring down the blacktop at a cold, dark night, boy, the pitch black sky, there ain't a star in sight. But I'm looking for a change. I'm passing through Memphis in the rain. Whitewashed buildings and old overgrown yards. I got one hand on the wheel, I got one on my heart. Looking for a girl without a name. I'm passing through Memphis in the rain. No matter what I do, Lord, I can't stop. Gotta keep that hammer to the floor, baby, until I'm clear out of Arkansas, mama. 'Cause I know what they can do to me, Lord, and I won't let them make a fool out of me. Things are starting to get strange, passing through Memphis in the rain. Sometimes a man's just gotta know when to go. He's gotta earn himself a keep, baby. He's gotta know when he's been beaten. So I called a cousin down in Houston. He said, Come on down, boy, we got work for you to be doing. I'm looking for a change, passing through Memphis in the rain. Yeah, things are starting to get strange. I'm passing through Memphis in the rain. Oh, yeah.
From Nashville, Tennessee, it's Music Business Radio. I'm your host, David Hooper. With me today, Justin Townes Earle. He's an artist on Bloodshot Records. He's got a record, Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. And Justin, let's go into this record here. How is it different from your other albums?
It was recorded in Asheville, North Carolina, which I've always recorded in Nashville. So I took it up to North Carolina, and it was recorded over 4 days. We recorded all 10 tracks live. There's not a single overdub anywhere on the tracks.
So it's just the whole band in one room? And
the whole band, and it was about a 9 to 10-piece band. Horns and everything. Not a lot of I kind of veered away from the fiddle on this record. There's not a lot of country to it, you know. There's actually no country to it. I'm going to the other side of Tennessee's music, which is the soul in Memphis, and it's something I've wanted to work with for a really long time, and I'd wanted to write songs like that for a really long time.
How about the songwriting process? Was it as quick as the recording process, or was it one of those things where, you know, years and years of blood, sweat, and tears to get this thing out?
I'm a pretty slow songwriter, but not quite that slow. I mean, it does, like, I wrote all the songs in the year and a half between Harlem River Blues and making this. I finished a couple of them right before we went in. Actually, about 4 or 5 of them I sat down with and finished. But definitely, I'm a cocktail napkin writer. I don't have to have a desk and a quiet place and, you know, a place to sit down. I write everything in little notebooks as I go about my day and just piece it all together later.
So when you're on the road, you're still writing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't need to stop to write. I think that it's, you know, life in motion is a very exciting thing to watch, and if you can't get other things to write about out on the road, I mean, you're doing something wrong.
Where do you think songs come from?
I don't know. I mean, I think that a good bit of, you know, most songs these days at least come from the help that we've had before from the people that recorded before us. I mean, I've written a lot of songs where I've used like a line from another song to be the title track, just like one line in the middle, you know, and I've written some based on like versions of other people's songs. And good songs, though, are like, they're one of the most organic things on earth. You know, they don't require any muscle or any kind of strain of any kind. They just come out, I think.
Sounds like there's just a bit of ease to them, maybe.
Yeah.
So about Asheville, North Carolina. You mentioned, you know, obviously you're here in Nashville today, but you live up in New York. You mentioned Memphis. Why not maybe Memphis or New York or Chicago or any of the other world-class recording cities that we've got?
As far as like New York goes, it's like there's nothing moves like New York. There's no replacement for Lower Manhattan. You know, I don't really care much about the outer boroughs or anything above 14th Street, but yeah, I mean, I think that it's between these Nashville and New York, I kind of get everything that I need. I get my relaxed and my banana pudding while I'm here, and then you know, I go to New York and, you know, I rush and I have a knish, you know.
And Asheville, I would imagine, it's kind of a hippie college town. It's probably a pretty cool place to do a record.
It is. It's a really good place to do a record. I mean, it's also a place where you can, you know, you can keep people out of trouble in that town. I mean, there's trouble to get into, but it's fairly compact, so they're not going to be very far. And the jail's right in downtown, so.
Always something to write about.
Yeah.
You're listening to Music Business Radio. I'm David Hooper, your host, and with me today, Justin Townes Earle. The album, Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. It's available wherever records are sold, but you're also selling, actually, records, vinyl.
Yeah.
Digital and CDs. Why the decision to do a vinyl record?
I think that it's very important. I mean, especially for this record with the way that we recorded it. You know, we recorded the 2-inch tape. We actually got the great chance to track on a Neve and mix on an API. And so it's definitely a record that deserves to be on vinyl, you know. I think all records deserve to be on vinyl because it brings out something. You're just not going to hear everything in a digital bite of a song. You just can't hear everything.
You know, something else I think is really cool about it is it's like an album. Put the needle down, and you've got 5 or 6 songs there. And it's more of an album experience as opposed to an iPod where you're flipping back and forth between songs.
I've never made a record over, I think it was 35 minutes long was the longest one. And I think that that's very important because, like you said, you know, everybody's got a smartphone these days and their attention span is about, you know, it's nothing. You have to give people something that they can put in, and when they leave their house in the morning and by the time they get to work, it's done.
Something else that I think that you're doing a lot differently than a lot of bands is your merch for this record.
Yeah.
Bow ties, high-end stuff that's going to last more than just 6 months.
Yeah, I think that that's very important. I'm into fashion a good bit, and I think the part of fashion that I'm into is more of like original Levi's and things like that. I like old like clothes that were made that are made to last. And
the red stitching.
Yeah, and I got tired of, you know, band shirts. You know, they always, this is like a picture of the album cover on it, and it's like a hard plastic or something like that. And I want to make merch that's actually functional fashion. Business speaking, it's something that I'm thinking about getting into on, you know, about a 10-year plan before anything starts. But I may start designing clothing, and this is just a good way to test the water with it and see what people will buy. I mean, I have plans to do a really nice wax jacket the same way that we did the bow ties, by order, and they'll be made to order.
You got some really cool artwork too, and obviously this is radio, people can't see you, but you heavily tattooed, and you brought your tattoo artist in to do some of the artwork that you're selling as well.
Otis James just took them right off my hands and designed bow ties, like hand painted the bow ties in on them. And so it's so that process of paint on cloth, I mean, people may not think it, but it will last a long time.
Let's play a song. What do you think just completely exemplifies the new album?
It would probably be "Am I That Lonely Tonight." It's the first song on the record, and I put it there for a reason, because I wanted, you know, just like I did with Midnight at the Movies and putting Midnight at the Movies first, I wanted to tell everybody that, you know, it's like, just from the start, it's like, hold on, you know, this is not going to be like what you had last time. You know, it's not going to be the same record.
So the album, Nothing's Going to Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. If you got a record player, it's on vinyl, iPod, digital, CD player, still, we got you covered here. Go to JustinTownesEarle.com. Justin Townes Earle on Music Business Radio. The song, Am I That Lonely Tonight? Off the album, Nothing's Going to Change the Way You Feel About Me Now.
Hear my father on the radio singing, take me home again. 300 miles from the Carolina coast, and I'm skinning bones again. Sometimes I wish that I could get away. Sometimes I wish that he'd just call. Am I that lonely tonight? I don't know. There's just something in a night like this that can be so hard to take. Oncoming headlights through the mountain mist, they're too close for comfort, too much at stake. So turn the radio down, roll the windows up and say to myself that I thought I'd be a better man. Sometimes I dream that I find a place where I won't feel so all alone. Am I that lonely tonight? I don't know. Sometimes I think that I could find a way where I won't feel so on my own. Am I that lonely tonight? Am I that lonely tonight? Am I that lonely tonight? That I don't know. No, I don't know.
Justin Townes Earle on Music Business Radio. The song Am I That Lonely Tonight from the album Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now, available wherever records are sold. When we come back, we're going to make Justin pull out his guitar. We're going to do some songs live in the studio. Justin Townes Earle on Music Business Radio.
Hello Nashville, this is Steve Winwood inviting you to join me for a special benefit for Radnor Lake. Join us at the Fontanelle, Friday, May the 18th, for a special night of music with me, Steve Winwood, along with special guests Michael Franti and Spearhead.
Tickets are on sale now, online at Ticketmaster.com or charge by phone 800-745-3000. Friday, May 18th at the Woods Amphitheater at Fontanelle. Steve Winwood with Michael Franti and Spearhead.
Well, my mind's going through that day. Help us all keep Radnor Lake a special place for Nashville and all of Tennessee. Stay tuned to Lightning 100 for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the show.
Hey guys, this is Dave Barnes. My life was crazy. I couldn't figure anything out. I'd play shows and nobody would show up. I'd forget my guitar sometimes, but then I started listening to Music Business Radio and everything changed. Thanks, guys.
From Nashville, Tennessee, it's Music Business Radio. I'm David Hooper, your host, and with me today, already got a guitar out, it's Justin Townes Earle, the new album, Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. It's available wherever records are sold. Just gonna let you keep playing, man. Look, you got a pretty cool guitar you're playing. We see a lot of cool instruments in here, and describe what you're playing on today.
I can't remember the serial number on it. It's a Martin M21 that was actually made for my dad, and I got one because I had when he had it made, he was having a tendonitis issue, and he had the neck built so it would help with his tendonitis, and it actually helped with mine too for a little while.
It's like a smaller neck, or
no? It's just not as fat in the back.
Okay.
It's wide and it doesn't have a lot in the back, so you can get around it pretty easy.
Well, you're doing just that. You want to play something off the new album?
Sure, we'll do the title track.
It's a shame, babe, but there's nothing that you could do. Things change, babe, such as my feelings for you. And you just look foolish when you're putting me down. Nothing's gonna change the way you feel about me now. Now when you lay down to sleep, that's when it'll hurt the most. When you wake up alone and you still smell my smoke. Drink up, baby, try and live me down. But nothing's gonna change the way you feel about me now. I know it's wrong, but I've got to admit I said some things that I shouldn't have said. I never loved you. I never loved you. I never loved, never loved, never loved. Days turn to weeks, you'll come to forget me. broken heart you thought would always be familiar. But right now, baby, you're trying to push me out. 'Cause nothing's gonna change the way you feel about me now.
Justin Townes Earle in the Music Business Radio studios. The song is Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now from the album of the same name. That was cool, man. You got a cool playing style, too. It's like rhythm and melody.
Yeah, I kind of copped the idea from Malcolm Holcomb, who was, when I was 15, I moved to the hills up in East Tennessee with some friends, and Malcolm was living in Johnson City at the time. I was living just outside, and he was kind of just at the height of his craziness, and his shows were really something to see back then. They were amazing, but he played in that real similar kind of, almost like a drop thumb banjo kind of style.
So you've got the guitar playing of East Tennessee. You grew up in Nashville. You've also got a song on your album about Memphis.
Yeah.
So we're covering all of Tennessee here.
All of Tennessee, which is pretty, it's, you know, you get most of your major music forms traveling between those.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, well, a lot of the music that we think of, you know, Nashville for, it came from East Tennessee. People just came down here because of the television, the radio. Yeah. And of course, Memphis has that Mississippi influence, a lot of the blues stuff.
Delta blues, yeah.
Absolutely. And you're a Mavis Staples fan, I know.
Oh, yeah. Her voice is amazing.
Incredible.
Still.
Incredible. So a lot of people may not be familiar with that name, Staples Singers, though. Of course, the Staples have that's like the Kennedys of Memphis soul music.
Yeah, definitely. Pop Staples was a pretty amazing man. I love his guitar playing. It's kind of what anybody who's ever played guitar for me always gets the Pop Staples speech.
Give it to us. I've never played guitar for you, but
well, it's like I usually give them the CD of real early Staples singers, and I say, if you do any more than that man does, you're fired.
That's something really cool when you listen to those old Memphis records, Stax records. I mean, those guys, it was simplistic. I don't know. I can't really just describe it. It was everything needed to be there.
Yeah, it was just they just knew exactly what needed to be and what didn't. I mean, it's like Steve Cropper's guitar playing. It's just like he plays so little. I mean, but when he does, it'll take down walls. You know,
unbelievable. Give us another one.
Another song. Let's see. Let's just do a weird song just for the fun of it.
All right, what is this one going to be?
A Mance Lipscomb song, old blues. Did you ever wake up with them so different blues? Anytime now, honey, did you ever wake up with them so different blues? You couldn't put on your Monday morning shoes. And Mama, here's your stocking, now go fetch me my shoes. Go on, woman. Mama, here's your stocking, now go fetching me my shoes. That woman done left, give me them walking blues. But I ain't ever loved but 4 women in my life. And I swear now, baby, I ain't never loved but 4 women in my life. My mother, my sister, my sweetheart, and my wife. Alright, easy, easy. 'Cause you know, keep it working, we'll fly someday. Well, she's my gal just one time now, and I ain't gonna tie her down. Alright, there she go walking on down them railroad tracks. So there goes my baby, there she go walking down them old railroad tracks. She took all my money and left me an empty sack. Baby, please don't go.
Justin Townes Earle in the Music Business Radio studios. I'm David Hooper, your host. It's got a new album. It's called Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now, available wherever records are sold. Let's play high-low here. What's the high point of the music business? What's the low point?
The thing I like the most about the music business is, I just love, it's a business that there's a lot of fun to be had in, and it's a business that if you pay attention to, you can have exactly what you want. The low point is that just like anything, there's criminals involved in it. Just like there's people that should never ever have a recording device put in front of their face that are getting to make records. The low part is that there's always going to be somebody. You're always going to have to watch the ones who are willing to sacrifice their souls rise above you. They can have all that. I think that I make, these days I'm by no means rich, but I do make a ridiculous amount of money to do something that I love.
What's your advice for people trying to break into the business?
Lawyer up. My lawyer is looks over everything that I do and watches me very closely and everything that I do. And as long as you have a good lawyer, you won't have a jive manager. You won't get a jive record deal, and you won't have all these problems that a lot of people have as long as you have a good lawyer. So people always say get a manager first. I say get the lawyer.
That's good advice. Yeah. You're a lawyer manager.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you think you're going to know when you've made it, or do you already feel that way?
I've been happy where I've been at. I make a living off of music. Who knows? I would never want to say that I've made it because I guess there's always somewhere else to go, and I think that any artist who says that he's made it or she's made it, that sounds like the beginning of the end to me for being an artist anyway.
I know a lot of songwriters feel that way. Like the best song is the one they're getting ready to write. Do you feel the same way about your writing?
I feel good about the fact that I've been able to, progress as a writer with my records and at a fairly rapid pace, and I think that's, who knows if I've made my best record yet. I hope I haven't.
Yeah. Well, the stuff now is great, but it's always fun to think about like what it could be,
Yeah, what's going to happen.
Developing as an artist, yeah. Anything that I haven't asked you that I should have? Just something you want to get off your chest or somewhere we didn't go?
No, I think I'm pretty full up.
All right, well let's have you take us out with one more. So the name of this next one, it's Moving On. It's off the album Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. Justin Townes Earle in the Music Business Radio studios. Take it away.
Well, I woke up wondering where I was at, just like I always do. Well, I ate the upper head laid out like a lazy bitch on a Sunday afternoon. Well, we're 40 miles from Cleveland, ain't stopping, ain't even passing through. Well, tonight we'll stop in Pittsburgh, but Philly's where we're going to. Well, I talked to my mom today, and she seems like she's doing fine now. Tell her I've been getting sick again, and we both pretend we don't know why. Says one more drop of rain, and she swears we'll all be drowned alive. Then she asks me how my father's been, we both pretend we don't know why. There's a world upstate, and I got a friend upstate. He's got a place where I can get away from it all. But I don't know if I could take it, boys. I just can't stand myself alone. Well, these 30 years of running's left me standing with my back to the cold. But it's left me most days wondering if I've ever really learned a thing at all, babe. But I'm trying to move on. I'm trying to move on, babe. I'm trying to move on, baby. I'm trying to move on. Maybe I should go back, take it back to the night where it all began. Maybe I could trace my life back to the night when my folks first met. Maybe I could find the moment where my father tore my mother's heart in half. I could go back to New York City, I guess, and just learn to live with it. But I'm trying to move on. I'm trying to move on, babe. I'm trying to move on, baby. I'm trying to move on.
Justin Townes Earle in the Music Business Radio studios. The album, Nothing's Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me Now. That was Moving On. Justin, thank you for being here.
Thanks you for having me.
Man, we got to have you back.
I'll be back.
Because I know you got stories.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're gonna do that. Thank you for listening. For more information on us, check us out online at musicbusinessradio.com. We'll see you next week when I interview another industry guest.
Thanks for listening to Music Business Radio, a production of Tuned In Broadcasting Incorporated, Nashville, Tennessee. Recorded in the WRLT Lightning 100 studios. Music Business Radio is produced by Gary Crane, David Hooper, and Dan Buckley. Hosted by David Hooper. Special technical assistance by Tom Hansen. With Pro Tools post-production by Justin Hamill and Dan Buckley. And Lester said, there's a reason. I know the answer to this question. For information on syndication, guest booking, demo derby music, or downloading previous episodes, visit musicbusinessradio.com.
Music Business Radio.